Okay, this is Kini Mesechta, Chazar of Moed Katan, Daf Bet Amud Bet. By where it says Itmar, it is maybe 8-9 lines down from the top of the page. First line is Va'afil. Says the Gemara Itmar. The following was said: Haminachesh v'hamashke ma'im lezraim. We're talking about two melachot. Minachesh, he's pulling out weeds from his field. V'hamashke ma'im lezraim, or he's feeding his field water. Bishabat, on Shabbat. Mishum mai matrinan be. What is the hatra'ah? For those two melachot, what's the hatra'ah? What's the warning that we give a person? What melacha is he violating? Rabba amar mishum choresh, Rav Yosef amar mishum zorea. Rabba says he's violating the melacha of choresh, of plowing, and Rav Yosef says zorea, planting. Now, what's the idea? Choresh, plowing, is softening the ground. And when you pull weeds or when you water the ground, you're softening the ground in order to help the ground be fertile. And zoreya is planting. When you remove weeds, you're causing things to grow better. And when you water your field, you're causing things to grow better. So Rav Yosef says you're violating planting. So you have machloket, are you violating plowing or planting? Amar Rabba kavati didi mistabra. Rabba says, like me makes sense. Why? Madar koshel choresh l'refuye ara. Just like the derech, the way of the melacha of choresh is to soften the ground. When you plow, you soften the ground. Hainami merafuye ara. This also, when you water your field or when you pull out the weeds, you're softening the ground. Amar Rav Yosef kavati didi mistabra. Rav Yosef says, like me makes sense. Madar kol shel zorea l'tzimuche pera hachanami matzmeach pera. So Rav Yosef says, just like zorea is matzmuche pera, it sprouts causes the fruits to grow. So also over here, when you're pulling out weeds and when you're watering your field, you're causing things to grow. Amarle Abaye l'Rabba. Abaye says to Rabba, Ledidach kasha u Rav Yosef kasha. I have a question on you and a question on Rav Yosef from the following teaching. Ledidach kasha mishum choresh in mishum zoreya lo. According to you, I have a question. It's choresh, but it's not zoreya. Rav Yosef kasha mishum zoreya in mishum choresh lo. And according to Rav Yosef, I also have a question. It's asur because of zoreya and not because of choresh. Meaning, I have a question on both of you. Both of you are saying it's only one melacha, not the other. Well, why can't it be both? And if you want to tell me when you violate two things, you're only chayav one for one of them, meaning there has to be one primary thing. It can't be that you're over both things. Rav Kahana says, Zomer v'tzarich le'etzim chayav shtayim. Rav Kahana says if somebody's zomer, he's pruning. He has a vineyard and he's cutting off the excess dead branches in his grapevine in order to make sure that the nutrients go to the rest of the grapevine. So if he does that, and he also needs the wood that he's cutting off, so chayav shtayim, he's violating two melachot. Achad mishum noteya, one for noteya, which is planting the tree, because you're helping the rest of the grapevine grow. V'achad mishum kotzer, and one for harvesting, cutting. When you cut branches or you cut anything that's attached to the ground, and you need it for yourself to use it for a productive use, you're chayav kotzer. So you see that you can do an action and it's violating two different melachot simultaneously. It doesn't have to be that there's one primary melacha that you're violating and the other one is secondary and it doesn't count. So Rabba and Rav Yosef, how come you're choosing one and each one of you is choosing one and neither one of you is saying that you're violating both? That's the question of Abaye. So the Gemara says kasha. Okay, that's a kasha. It can be dealt with, but we're willing to live with that question. The Gemara goes further. Eitve Rav Yosef l'Rabba. Rav Yosef asks on Rabba. Again, Rav Yosef was the one that said that you're chayav because of zoreya, planting, and Rabba said you're chayav because of choresh, because of plowing. So Rav Yosef asks on Rabba, hamnachesh v'hamechapela kilaim. Somebody who is minachesh and mechapela klaim. So minachesh, we said before, is picking out the weeds, and mechapeh is you're taking the seeds. Basically, you're taking the dirt and you're covering the seeds with the dirt. So if you do that for kilaim, you do that for mixtures, illegal mixtures, things that you're not allowed to plant together. Loke, you get malkut. Rabbi Akiva Omer Afa Mekayem. Rabbi Akiva says, even if you are Mekayem, even if you don't actually actively participate in the growth of the kilaim, but you just leave them be, you let them grow, you are chayav for your over on kilaim. You get malkut. So Rav Yosef is asking Rabba Bishlam lididida mina mishum zorea. According to me, that I say that the isser of planting, of the isser of watering your field, and of being menachesh, of weeding, is zorea. So hainu dasir zorea b'kilaim. That makes sense because zorea, planting, facilitating the growth of kilaim, is asur. According to you, that you say that the isser is because of choresh, charisha b'kilaim mi asir. Is it asur to do charisha b'kilaim? Meaning you're telling me when you're menachesh, when you're removing the weeds, you're doing an act of charisha, of plowing. Plowing is not asur when it comes to kilaim. You're allowed to plow. You're allowed to plow your field if you're not putting kilaim in there. I mean, what isser of plowing is there by kilaim? It's only an isser of facilitating the growth of kilaim. Amar le mishum mekayem. So Rabbah answers Rav Yosef, no, you know why? It's asur. It's asur because you're keeping the kilaim around. You're being mekayem the kilaim, and that itself is asur. So the Gemara has the obvious problem with this. Vaha mediktani seifa, from the fact that it says in the seifa Rabbi Akiva Omer Afa mekayem. Rabbi Akiva is the opinion that says Afa mekayem, even if somebody is not actively growing the kilaim, but he's just helping them remain, he's allowing them to remain, you get malkut. That's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Michlal, we infer from there, the Tanakama lav mishum mikayemhu. The Tanakama, the first opinion, doesn't agree to that. They don't hold mikayem. So how could you tell me when it says if you're menachesh by kilaim, you're chayav, if you weed the kilaim, you're chayav because you're being mikayem? How could you tell me that? Rabbi Akiva is the one who says mikayem, and he doesn't agree to the first opinion. So says the Gemara, Tanakama must hold that it's not because of Mikayem. So the Gemara says, Kula Rabbi Akiva hi. The whole Braita is really Rabbi Akiva, my tam kamar. The Braita is in my tam form, which means we're going to amend the Braita a little bit and make it that the Braita is explaining the reasoning for the ruling. My tam hamenachesh v'amechape b'kilaim lokeh. What's the reason? Meaning this is the real wording of the Braita. This is the way the Braita should be. Rabba is saying. My tam hamenachesh v'amechape b'kilaim lokeh. Why is it that somebody who removes the weeds and also is mechape, covers the seeds of kilaim, gets malkut? Mishum mekayem, because he is being mekayem them, because he is doing something which is allowing them to continue to exist. Rabbi Akiva Omer Afa mekayem. Rabbi Akiva says even if you're just mekayem, you get malkut. Now the Gemara asks, my time to Rabbi Akiva, what's the reason of Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya, it says in the Braita as follows. We quote a pasuk, Sadecha lo tizra kilaim. It says, in your field you shall not plant kilaim. En li ela zoreya. I only know from there zoreya, that you cannot plant kilaim. Mikayem minayin. How do I know that I'm not allowed to be mikayem, that I cannot allow kilaim to exist? Talmud lomar kilaim sadecha lo. It says in the pasuk, kilaim sadecha lo, meaning the pasuk is worded in a way that it says behem techa lo tarbia kilaim, sadecha lo tizra kilaim. Instead of saying lo tizra sadecha kilaim, it says sadecha lo tizra kilaim. And if you look at the words together, it's sadecha do kilaim sadecha lo. Right, in your kilaim in your field, no, they should not be. So you see, even just allowing them to exist, you see that Isser is included in the pasuk because of the way the pasuk is worded.